some information which may or may not need to go in camera to put to the ATSB in relation to someone who's expressed some concerns, not about the ATSB but about a particular operational matter. Can I just go to the issue that Senator O'Brien referred to, and that relates to the wind shear incident?
Yep.
I guess what I'm trying to establish is what are the triggers for a high-level investigation. I appreciate that the ATSB is now looking at that incident at a higher level, but initially the ATSB made a decision not to investigate it further on the basis of the information provided to you. That's
correct.
A fair summary. That information consisted of a report from the pilot,
a report from the operator, which we understand was pretty much the verbatim report of the pilot.
Okay. And did that report indicate, obviously it would have indicated that there was a wind shear incident, but did it also indicate the rate of climb in that report?
The initial report, as I recall, Senator, although I'd have to confirm this, didn't go to rate of climb, but we made inquiries of the operator as to rate of climb.
And were those inquiries on the basis of looking at the flight data recorder?
On the basis of asking the operator what they had in terms of the flight data recorder.
Given that you're now investigating this, are you able to comment further along with respect to this? Can you advise whether you were notified as to the rate of climb at that time?
At the time of the initial report,
the initial report.
As I say, I'll have to. My recollection is no, but I'll confirm whether or not that's the case. I'd prefer to take that on notice to be absolutely sure.
No, I understand that. But further to Senator Heffernan and Senator O'Brien's line of questioning of this, if the rate, an A320, the normal rate of climb is 2,000 to 2,500 feet a minute.
Mm-hmm.
If the rate of climb was about 10% of that, would that raise concerns from your point of view for a more robust investigation?
It would take us to the point where we would be seeking further information, Senator, to establish significance. This is somewhat hypothetical. The number, as we understand it, was somewhat higher than the one you're quoting, and we will make that public in whatever we do in terms of our current investigation. There will always be a question as to what's the trigger point for an investigation. Even if we had a much more generous resourcing than we currently have, there's always going to be a set of things that we would look at and say, we will record that in our occurrence database, but we won't actually formally investigate.
Sure. It's just that the trigger for the investigation, I think, was when Captain Woodward, who's in the gallery today, said that he raised concerns about it. Was that the trigger for a further investigation, that you were given more information that came to light?
The trigger, Senator, was in this forum. We heard information that cast a different light on the occurrence to what was available to us. And so we're establishing more clearly the facts through examining the flight data recorder and other information, through interviewing the pilots and so on.
Now, I emphasise that this is not a criticism of the ATSB. I'm just trying to work out the protocols, whether the requirements for the information that's provided to you are adequate for the ATSB to be able to do their job properly.
At this stage, Senator, we remain confident that the information that's provided to us by operators, which is essentially based on internal reporting systems, is reliable. The reason that we wanted to take a closer look at this was we heard in this place a view of the event that was at odds with what had been reported to us. So we're establishing, to the best of our ability, what the facts are.
Okay. So does that mean that in relation to wind shear incidents, would it be appropriate for any future wind shear incidents to try and establish to what extent the rate of climb was compromised as part of that incident? As to the level of investigation that the ATSB will carry out?
Yes. But perhaps I should be clear, Senator, in our decision to investigate, we made inquiries as to rate of climb and formed a view based on that information. We, as I say, received a different view of it in this forum, and that's why we went.
All right, and what I'm trying to establish, and I won't labour this point because I do want to go in camera in a moment to Chair. When you received information from the rate of climb, was that verified by flight data recorder information, or was it on the basis of representations made to you?
It was on the basis of the operator's advice to us of the information they had established through their examination of, I think, the quick access recorder of the aircraft.
Okay.
So yes, we did rely on that information.
Which would give you rates of climb.
Yes, Senator.
Would that still exist, those records, or they've got a termination period?
There is a period past which the material is overwritten, but this was well within those parameters.
So if you want to go back and have a look for yourself, would you be able to?
Yes, we are.
Right, so perhaps the best thing, Mr Dolan, is fair to say you're now looking at this matter and that there will be a report prepared in relation to this matter, or not? Has it got to the stage where there will be some formal report?
There will be some formal publication of what we have discovered as a result of our investigation, Senator.
And who knows, this committee may want to ask some more questions on that.
So do you want to go into camera?
Yes, I do, Chair.
Could I just ask one question before we do? This is on fatigue, and this may not be in your bailiwick, but on trains we took a long time to get firemen off railway engines that didn't have a fire, so they're single crewed now, and one of the safety devices for a train driver is he has to push a button every minute or two or the train will pull up.
Yes, Senator.
One of the scary things to come to terms with in fatigue is if someone at the wheel goes to sleep, and if there are two people, if both of them go to sleep, it would be a pretty scary experience if anyone knew about it. Hard to prove. Do you think as an extra precaution, given all the information we've received about the capacity of the human body to tolerate different fatigue levels and loads, to have a device that sent off a warning if you didn't push it every so often in the cabin of the aircrew, of the pilot area, referring it back to the cabin crew or something? So if the alarm went off, you know everyone's gone to sleep?
There's an interesting balance there, Senator. It's not an intervention I would necessarily see as ideal, in that flight crew are normally being asked to do a whole range of things, and the level of work they're being required to do. This might just end up being an additional distraction rather than an additional defence against fatigue in the system.
But if there was the slightest evidence of an event where cabin crew, where pilots may have snoozed off, would that cause you to rethink that?
What I can say, Senator, is we are always, when we do our investigations, alert to the risks of fatigue, and we go to considerable efforts to establish, by a range of mechanisms, whether or not we think fatigue might have been a relevant consideration. We're not at the point where we have an evidence set that would lead us to the view that there is a problem with that nodding off problem that would lead us to make a recommendation about it.
Yep. Okay. Well, if I could just advise the gallery that we want to clear the room for 10 minutes perhaps, because we want to go into camera, and we'll proceed to these hearings in camera.
The bit that I didn't draw clear and would be happy to provide to the committee if it wishes, we have a memorandum of understanding with the Civil Aviation Safety Authority, which is a public document that explains how that relationship of information sharing is managed. That might help to put some of that information in context. So happy to supply it to the committee if that's helpful.
Thank you.
Well, thank you to ATSB for their evidence today, and that concludes your evidence, and I now call the next witness. Thank you very much. Are you familiar with the conditions?
Read the statement.
Yeah, I think I better start from the beginning because I'll just go from... This is a public hearing and a Hansard transcript of the proceedings is being made. Before the committee starts taking evidence, I remind all witnesses in giving evidence to the committee they are protected by parliamentary privilege. It's unlawful for anyone to threaten or disadvantage a witness on account of evidence given to a committee, and such action may be treated by the Senate as a contempt. It is also, of course, a contempt to give false or misleading evidence. The committee prefers all evidence to be given in public, but under the Senate's resolutions, witnesses have the right to request to be heard in private session. It is important that witnesses give the committee notice if they intend to give evidence in camera. If a witness objects to answering a question, the witness should state the ground upon which the objection is taken, and the committee will determine whether to insist on an answer. Having regard to the ground which is claimed, if the committee determines to insist on an answer, a witness may request that the answer be given in camera. Such a request may, of course, be made at any other time. I would ask you to stay behind for clarification for Hansard purposes for a couple of minutes after the conclusion of your evidence. So I would like to now welcome Ms. Monique Neeteson-Lemkes. Is it somewhere near it, is it?
Neeteson-Lemkes.
For the Hansard record, could you give your name and the capacity in which you appear today?
I appear in my private capacity, and my name is Monique Neeteson-Lemkes.
You have lodged submission 52 with the committee. Would you like to make any amendments or additions to that submission?
I would, Senator, if I may, my opening paragraph of my written submission, if I may just clarify that I'm employed full-time by Jetstar. I have left that out.
Thank you very much. Do you wish to make an opening statement?
I do, if I may.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Senators and esteemed colleagues. My name is Monique Neeteson-Lemkes, and I'm employed full-time by Jetstar as a domestic flight attendant. I've been in this role since 2006. Additionally, I've been a workplace delegate for the Flight Attendants Association of Australia for 4 years. I stress that I make this submission in my personal capacity, not on behalf of the Flight Attendants Association of Australia. I'm here because I believe Jetstar uses unsafe rostering practices. These unsafe practices lead to fatigue, which in turn increases risk in flights that many in this room travel on. I'm here also because it seems my company doesn't listen. There are unanswered Oscars, personal conversations ignored, and the list is very long. I'm here to state in a protected environment my concerns. Jetstar have demonstrated numerous times that they take punitive action for those who raise concerns. The disinterest in our feedback means we have to elevate our concerns. This is why I'm here today, and I welcome this inquiry and my chance to correct that which is so dangerously broken.
Is that your opening statement?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Senator Xenophon.
Ms Neeteson-Lemkes, thank you for your submission. You've set out in your submission a number of concerns about fatigue, but before we get to that,
sure.
I received recently an email from the partner of a Jetstar flight attendant that raised a number of concerns, and one of the concerns was that sign-on time before flights has been reduced to fit in with longer duty periods. What do you know about that? In other words, the email went on to say the expectations from staff is that the flight attendants arrive to work 20 to 30 minutes earlier than sign-on to complete all their pre-flight duties in their own time, so duty periods aren't exceeded on longer duties. Now, does that ring a bell with you?
Not exactly as you've phrased it just then.
Right.
Only circumstances where you would appear or come to work a bit earlier than your sign-on is if you're doing your annual performance check. Right. And you get that done. If you're referring to reduced sign-on, are you referring to reduced sign-ons where rest is reduced from the